Hello and welcome back to the ever exciting LEGO Falcon mega build. Last time I left us on a cliffhanger. This bit didn't fit. I couldn't figure out why. I went off into the woods to meditate on it. I came back and realised a single piece was out of place on the plate I was trying to add. Moved that, it all fitted fine, so all is well. Took almost no time at all. We're on bag 10, which means a loud opening of a bag, obviously. This part appears to be, I don't know, it's showing difference on top, but I can't visibly see what the difference is. Could be, nope, I've got no idea. Oh, no, I think I do know. I think it's this side bit over here, maybe? We'll see. Actually more to this than I thought. This might technically be the largest number of bags yet. Okay, I'm gonna shift this across, this big boy. How do I hold it now? That seemed to work. Okay. Oh, there's a hatch window. Nothing more to that. All right, let's get building. I've been through the wars a bit since last episode. That is immensely over-exaggerating it. I have a tiny cut on my thumb. It's off-center. I would describe it as, well, it's here. It's just here. I mean, you can't see it, but it's there. It's tiny. It bled profusely at the time without me even realising it. I was actually playing frisbee. I was just throwing a frisbee around with a friend. Well, let's say acquaintance. Let's not be too familiar. And he caught it and he goes, oh, is that blood on the disc? I was like, I don't know, maybe. I thought, I don't know, my dog sometimes plays with it. Maybe he'd cut his mouth or something was bleeding on it. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's actually quite a lot of blood. Looked at my hand. I was like, yes, that's all come from me. I have apparently bled profusely without realising it. So it's right on the bit of my thumb that I almost use for everything, apparently. Like every single activity of one's daily life. Just don't exist. Bit I need. I've been really lazy the past few weeks for recording videos, so every now and again I'll get a day and I'll look at my schedule and it'll be like, you have to record 12 videos today and edit them by tomorrow. Otherwise you'll fall foul of your own planning system. I was looking in the wrong bit, that's why. And it's suddenly become immensely hot. I haven't realised quite how hot it was in this room. I could go and get a fan, but the sound would be terrible. And as every great artist will tell you, you have to struggle for your art. I regret describing this as art. I would say this is more just a journey into madness at this point. On a similar note, I read a long Twitter thing this morning about, it was just one guy posting almost like a short essay, or I suppose it was like an article, if anything, a news article about the Millennium Dome in England, which if you're not from England, you probably have no idea what it is, or Britain, I suppose. And even if you are from Britain, you probably still don't have any idea what it was. It was a thing the government did to celebrate the new millennium, i.e. the end of the year 1999 and the start of the year 2000 and that subsequent year. It was supposed to be, how best to describe it, an experience. Was it a theme park? Was it a museum? Was it an art gallery? It was both all of these things and none of these things. Was it a public sector work paid for by taxes and the government? Or was it something from the private sector paid for by corporations, sponsors, that sort of thing? Neither and both at the same time. A tremendously weird experience. Did it have rides? Kind of. Did it have lines? Yes. Did it have anything worth seeing? Not really. Did it have any seating? No. It's a whole odd endeavour. I did go to it when I was younger, and I can only remember two things. There was a large machine making recycled pencils. And in fact, there was a large machine, and you couldn't really see what it was doing. And then at the end, it turned out it was making recycled pencils. And I was like, is that it? All of this for this nonsense? This wasn't worth it. And there was also a cinema, like, next door to it, a special kind of cinema is the best way I can describe like a movie theatre, if you don't know what a cinema is. And it was showing an episode of Blackadder, and as far as I'm aware, and as the article or Twitter thread pointed out, that's all it ever showed was a kind of follow-up featurette of Blackadder. If you're not aware, Blackadder was a popular comedy series in like the 90s. What? I do this every single time I open a new bag. I go in assuming I know what I'm doing, when obviously I don't. It's an assumption of familiarity. Okay, so I've been thinking about it, and I've come to the decision that Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom is actually way better than anyone realizes. Thinking it through, like the set pieces are actually very good. They're genius, in fact, to a certain degree. If you go and watch it again, and you'll realize like every sort of encounter is just really good. They're all different. I would say that in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, you could quite comfortably take the first 4 films, take all of the best dinosaur encounters and set pieces, and there is a comparison piece in Fallen Kingdom. The T-Rex bit at the start might be one of the best T-Rex or best Jurassic Park scenes there is. Like, genuinely, it's amazing. And the way it's very short as well. It's compact, doesn't give you a chance to breathe. It's just a wonderfully put together piece. That's not to say it's, a great film. It's got some questionable bits in it, but still, that was grand. I listened to the entirety of a book the other day. It was a Star Wars book, which I've been meaning to do for years, is to listen to all the Star Wars audiobooks, because they're all kind of trashy books. They're like sort of pulpy action sort of books. None of them are like literary masterpieces. They're all aimed at 12 to 15-year-old boys essentially, which in many ways I am at heart. I've been meaning to sort of listen to them for years. I listened to a few of the old ones, and the trouble is, in my head, I'm like, I know these are the best. Like Thrawn, that's the one people always talk about. It's like, well, that's what I kind of want to hear, or I kind of want to read the stuff that's like after the original trilogy. What happens next? That kind of thing. But then you're like, well, I should listen to them in a rough sort of order, really, shouldn't I? And you end up starting with a book that's like, this one is set 50,000 years before Phantom Menace. It's like, what am I doing? Who are these people? What the fuck am I looking for? It should be about this long. Dark grey. It's here. It's just here. I've got it. So I listened to a few of them, and then I kind of lost my list that was telling me what order to listen to them in. And I left such a gap between them. And then Disney brought Star Wars, and it was like, we're resetting the canon. I was like, well, no point listening to any of these old books now. And then suddenly loads of new books came out, and I almost got trapped into doing the same thing of, well, I've got to find out which one to listen to first. And then I was at work one day, and I had a lot of work ahead of me that involved being able to listen to stuff on my phone. I'd run out of podcasts entirely to listen to, which happens every now and again. And I'd put like 2 books on there. I'd put Star Wars Ahsoka and Star Wars Rebels something or other, which I think might actually be the novelization of the Rogue One film, which I actually started listening to. And then I thought, oh, hang on, which one of these came first? And one was 2017 and one was 2016. So I listened to the Ahsoka one, which I think is a follow-up to whatever she did in Clone Wars. It was fairly easy to follow. It's not complicated, even if you're not aware. I had watched a lot of Clone Wars, not all of it, but a good amount of it. If I had to guess, I'd say I'd seen 3 or 4 seasons. Right, and these 5. And as I was listening to it, I was like, maybe I should go back, watch all of the Clone Wars, and then finally watch Star Wars Rebels. And I considered genuinely doing that. Then I thought, how am I going to watch this? I could probably stream this somewhere. And I thought, maybe I should buy it on Blu-ray. It's quite a well-produced series. And I looked, and I was thinking the Blu-ray for something like that is normally a scandalous price. And it was like 30 odd quid for the first, I want to say 5 seasons. I thought, oh, that's not too bad. And then I went further down the rabbit hole, and suddenly it was like, well, does this include the kind of mini movie they released first to introduce the stories? And I didn't find out the answer. And then there was like a 6th season that was DVD only, or like a straight to video affair. And I was like, well, it doesn't include that, so now I've got to buy them on top. And they're making a new season coming up for streaming apparently or something. If you're gonna do it, maybe you should wait until there's a box set of all 7.5 seasons of it. I gave up, and I just thought about pirating it at that point. And I didn't in the end. Instead, I did something even weirder. I almost started watching Dragon Ball Kai, the sort of remastering essentially of Dragon Ball Z. I watched the first 10 minutes of an episode of that and thought, I should watch Dragon Ball. Because I quite fancy watching Dragon Ball Super after I watched the Battle of Gods film and really enjoyed it. I thought, yeah, I could watch that. And then years later, I still haven't gotten around to it. And I'm now watching Dragon Ball, a cartoon from the 80s. It's good. It's fun. I always remember liking Dragon Ball in that it was very weird, and it was clearly like Dragon Ball Z is very sci-fi. Dragon Ball is very fantasy. I'm really building this blind at the minute, and it's a huge risk. The other huge risk is this is the fifth video I've filmed today, and I may lose the ability to talk. I will. It's just whether or not I'll be able to continue through this video. It's an odd thing. It's not at all tiring making videos, except it drains you in a certain sense. All right, I've made this, and now it's just told me to make two of them, which is always a kind of a dick move when it does that, honestly. Although, had I paid any attention to any of the early instructions, I would know that I had to make 2 of these, but I'm just not that guy. So currently I'm in a state of watching of Dragon Ball again. I'm in a real anime heavy mood, and basically what happened was I watched Food Wars, really enjoyed it, thought that was great. I've got a few things on the go at the minute now, like My Hero Academia. I watch that week to week, which is painful. I started watching Overlord, which is in my favourite genre of things, of people getting trapped in a video game. Although it's kind of less than that. It's more one guy gets trapped in an MMO, kind of. But he was like the head of a top guild, so he's like super powerful in the world and has got all these crazy items. It's a very odd show, actually. And it was good. I watched the first 2 series of it, and then I come to discover that the 3rd series is on now, and they've only shown like 4 episodes of it. It's like, oh, for Christ's sake. And it's one of those shows where watching it, it's like, it's clear that there's no set end point in mind. It'll be years before it's finished. And I just wanted to... I honestly, I was like, I want to watch an anime that, if it's still going on, I've got at least a few hundred episodes to watch. Or I want to watch something that's got an end to it, you know? I got this really bad habit of like going on Crunchyroll and starting an anime and watching like a season or 2, and then it just ends on kind of a cliffhanger, and you scroll down to the comments and it's like, gee, I hope they make more 4 years ago. So, well, but they might. Goddamn Attack on Titan Series 3 just popped up out of nowhere. They seem to make that just as and when they feel like it. I think there was, 10, 15 years between the first series and the second? Was it the first and the second? I watched them all as one, but it might have been like season 1 part A and season 1 part B, and then a huge gap. First was like 20 odd episodes, then 6 episodes after a 20-year wait, and now a year later they're showing it again, and I can't really remember anything of that show. I mean, I can, but not like the intricacies of the relationships. I'm tempted to watch that series again because I remember really enjoying it, and knowing that it gets kind of less brutal as it goes on to a certain extent. Well, the brutality definitely shifts, but knowing who to get attached to and who not to is a viable thing, isn't it? Need some little black bits now. That's good. Nice. Is there a little red rod in? No, there's not. Is that everything on there? Right, so I've now got 2 of these. So I take these, I take this, and I see. That's quite easy. Or it would be easy if my thumb wasn't hurting quite so very much. Why isn't that going in? It's actually very awkward placement here. There we go. Still don't want to get... You know what? Let's just take that off. Stick this in first and then hope. You can build a rebellion on hope, or some nonsense. What I like about the Star Wars books as well is a lot of it is like far more tactically sound and thought out. There's a big part of Ahsoka is sort of training some semi-rebels to fight, and it's like, yeah, the main thing we got to worry about is food, not, you know, the Emperor, he is evil and all that, and he does have this dark, forceful influence upon the galaxy, but it's really food we need to worry about. Is that gonna go? This does not want to be in here, which is a clear sign that something's not quite in. I think I may have just found it. Normally these push in like butter. Maybe it's because it's so hot. Is there an easy way of doing this? No. Well, maybe. No, there's not, is there? Damn it. There's something very smarmy about how this isn't even a step in this. It's like, add together. Done. Right, here's the key. I'm going to put it on without actually attaching anything. There we go. I now realise this is wrong. Actually, no, it's not. It's just at the wrong angle. Kind of. Right, you going to go back on? Okay. Right, that's one side done. Now I've got to do the same on the other side. And I bet this one will just go on like a dream. I stand tremendously corrected. Okay, one side went in. Okay, alright, there we go. We've got this bit. Alright, attach 4 of these little bad boys in. And then the fun can begin. That's nice, that's good. So I'm still playing No Man's Sky at the minute, and I had another great revelation, which was they released a little patch note that said we've now made it so you could build houses before and like settlements essentially, but you could only build one and in a set location. And with the new update, they changed it so you could build as many as you want, basically anywhere. Which is great, but they also, either intentionally or inadvertently, I think they meant to do it. They basically deleted any of your old homes when you started playing the new one. And there's a method of recovering it. You just have to start this quest, go to a place, and it will say, do you want to recover your base? You say yes, and it just plonks your base down there. However, that quest was bugged for ages, and finding information like tangible, real information on No Man's Sky is basically impossible. The whole game is essentially an enigma. Particularly if, like me, you're playing on quite an old save file, so you don't know what you've done and what you have to a certain extent. So I thought I had a homestead. It was called Hard Home actually. I clearly named it after Game of Thrones because it was on an ice world. And living there was hard, as you can imagine. It was not a pretty base to look at. Like there was no design in it. There was no home comforts. In fact, like to walk inside the base was incredibly maze-like. It was like there was a central structure here, one off there, one off at a corner there, and one like around 2 corners there. So that navigating around the base, there was no efficient way to do it. What it did have, though, was a very good farming setup for making money, or a fair farming setup for making money. It wasn't very good, so I'm exaggerating it. But I finally managed to get that back. I knew my old base was on a cold world, and it was important that I continued that. So I found an icy planet that happened to have the thing I needed to rebuild it. Okay, so this is now showing me... Oh, God. I've got to put this on over here. I'm actually just going to leave that and build what I presume... Yeah, I'm just going to build another one. I'll put that on later. It's way over there. I can't even reach over there to do it. I'll have to walk around. It can wait. I can wait for next time. So I essentially landed on this ice planet with the intention of rebuilding my home. I had, prior to this, set up another settlement elsewhere, and I very nearly was going to lay down roots and just say, okay, this is my new base. And I just couldn't be bothered. I was like, you know what, I don't need this now. I don't need a base. I've got my freighter. That's got a bed in it. That's enough. I'll explore the universe. And this patch came out, and so I found this ice planet. That's not what I need. I landed on it, and it says, you know, do you want to recover your base here? I said yes. It plonked down my base, which had the reason I needed an ice planet was because my base had a lot of just plants planted outside that required a frozen climate, and I assumed either it would just delete them if I went to the wrong planet, or it would kill them, or they might have worked fine and I've actually missed a trick by not going to a different planet and having 2 easy planting options. It doesn't matter. But this planet I was on just so happens to have almost constant freezing ice storms, to the point where like you go outside and you've got about 30 seconds before you die of exposure, even with my exosuit's capabilities. And as a little quirk of when you respawn the base, it did this thing where all of the doors to my buildings were still intact, but there were no doorways, essentially. So it's like there were fake doors. Like the door would open and just the wall of the building was there, so you couldn't get into any of them. And I didn't have the equipment to make a new door to get into the buildings, because when you build a building in that game, you build like the shell, but there's no doorways. You have to build a door to get in and out of it. And I didn't have the equipment needed to build it. I only had 30 seconds on the clock before I died of exposure. And I couldn't remember how to delete what you'd laid down, because the building UI it's not great in that game, and I'm not overly familiar with it either. So there was a very real chance that I was going to die of exposure outside my own front door, which would have been very funny, granted, but annoying at the same time. But I finally managed to figure it out. I built new doors, all was well. So I've got that base. It's a fantastic farming location, because apparently they've made the requirements, and by farming I mean like literal plants. There are plants that grow and give me resources, and you craft those resources into completely useless items that for some reason sell for a huge amount of money, and that's how you make money. So I've got this great farm, and they've changed it so that, oh no, that's gone in the wrong place. It used to be to make a plant, all you needed was like essentially a cutting from that plant. So you'd go off to a foreign planet, find the rare plant that would only grow there, come back to your base, plant 1 in a hydroponic planter pot essentially, wait half an hour, it grows more, you use that, you plant more, till eventually you get to the point where you've got enough and you can start actually harvesting them for shit. But apparently they've changed it, so it's now like way harder to build plants, in my opinion. Or at least you need harder to acquire resources. So it means I've got all these rare plants in my base that are a pain in the ass to build now, but I've already done that step. So it's like I've cheated slightly, and I'm happy about that. But it's meant I'm now supremely rich, without having to do any of like there's a lot of annoying ways you can make money. It's like, oh yeah, if you just stand around in the starport, wait for everyone to come in and buy this thing and then sell it somewhere else. It's like, well yeah, you can make money for that, but it's kind of boring and it's not overly fun, is it? So I've got a nice way of making money in that game, and it's good. I'm still enjoying it. I suspect I'll probably get another week or so out of it. I'd actually probably get more enjoyment. However, there's the looming threat of Monster Hunter World is coming out, which, well, it's already out. I mean, it's coming out on PC, and I'm so looking forward to that to a ridiculous degree. Right, so that's the one I need. Because it's been a while since I played Monster Hunter, and it's one of those things where if you ask me what my favourite game is, I'll probably say like A Link to the Past, or some nonsense like that, like a great game and all. Or it might be something I'm playing at the minute or have played recently, like if you ask me my favourite game, it normally comes up as Link to the Past, or whatever I've played recently that's good, like Inside, or I don't know, Doom, something like that. Like good games, but not outstanding. But then if you look at the numbers, it's like, oh, it's actually Monster Hunter. And Monster Hunter will come out, and it's all I will play for a good amount of time. But it happens in all games. You reach a point where it's like, okay, I've done enough. You move on to something else, or So I've hit up most of the content here, or I'm not interested in the rest. You move on. And a new Monster Hunter's coming out, and I forget how much of an excitement that can be. Particularly because when it came out on it was PS4. Was it Xbox as well? I think it was only PS4, wasn't it? I had to specifically kind of ignore it all because I know it's coming on PC, so I don't want to get any knowledge of any kind. Right, I've made an error. Yep. I'm not paying anywhere near enough attention when I'm building this. It's very complicated, and it's got a significant amount more steps than I first realised. And it's almost designed that you have to push everything in with your thumb, and it's hurting immensely. Well, that's not great, is it? Push all that down. I'm so close to just jabbing this through my flesh. So I'm very excited for Monster Hunter World. I've also got sort of in the back of my head that I really want to play. Shadow of War has been looming for a while, even though I'll get that eventually. I just got to wait until the time is right. And inevitably I'll end up rewatching Lord of the Rings around that time as well, just to boost one's enthusiasm. Happens around, once a year. It needs to be cold weather to watch Lord of the Rings. You can't watch it when it's warm. There's no gravitas when you do that. It's saying to put these tubes on, and it's kind of describing them as shiny. Like there's actually a little glint in the image it's given me. But I can't see anything other than these, and these do have a slight chrome effect, which gives them a little bit of shine. So I'm assuming that's the right thing to do. Right, let's get this on. There's a real bastard to make this little thing. It's incredibly ornate, or detailed, to use the correct term. It's the opposite of ornate. It's practically baroque. Okay, so I've done that. Made a huge error just now by taking out the middle section. I might be able to put it in without removing everything though. Oh God, please tell me I've not fucked this up as big as I think I have. Okay, good, I haven't. Right. So that's like that, and then wait, what? Son of a bitch. I've got this wrong anyway. Don't roll off, you bastards. So I've got Monster Hunter World. That's big on my radar. I'm secretly annoyed. There's a film out I kind of want to see, but I can't. It's Teen Titans Go to the Movies, I think is what it's called. I've not watched Teen Titans Go at all. I watched the original Teen Titans series when it was on, and I gotta say, wasn't a big fan. I watched it all, and I just never. It was never like my favourite show. It was one of those I'd watch because it was on. Every now and again there'd be a cool episode, but I was like, most of the characters in this are a little bit dull. And it was one of them where in my head, I don't know if it was true, but in my mind, my memory of it tells me it was very repetitive. Like Beast Boy would have like 4 animals he'd ever change into, which may not be true. He might have had a different one every episode, but it's it's what the mind tells you. Right, I've made this. It spins. I'd like to think it's part of some kind of fancy radar array. Probably isn't, but I like to think it. Right. Let me guess, make another one. Maybe. But I saw the trailer for Teen Titans Go. I haven't watched Teen Titans Go. I've said that, but I'll say it again. Doesn't really appeal to me. Might be quite funny, to be honest. No idea. Well, I saw the trailer and I just thought, this looks pretty funny, actually. This looks the sort of level I could go for. Only trouble is, it's a proper kids film. Like Incredibles 2. So yeah, you You can get away with that bit. In fact, I think it was in Incredibles 2 I saw the trailer for it, because there was a group of 3 or 4, I don't know, 18 to 20-year-old types who like loudly commented on it, and I could tell they were the kind that annoyed that Teen Titans got cancelled and Go was what replaced it. Well, it kind of replaced it, didn't it? Not really. Who were loudly like, if you think that's funny but you hadn't seen the series, I was like, what the fuck are you on about? Get out of here. You damn kids. Wait, what? 1? Oh. Very complicated instruction there. 2 different red things. Confused me entirely. Yeah, I saw a trailer for it. Just thought it looked funny. And then I found out it was out now. Apparently it's gotten quite good reviews or something. It's like good. Or the joke is it's gotten better. It's like got a better review than, is it Infinity War or something, like average red Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. I don't give a shit about any of that nonsense. Right. Okay, so I have made this in many respects wrong. How wrong have I made it? Very wrong. In fact, I've got every single bit wrong. Doing this the way it said has not made it any easier. Let's see, so that's okay, yep, that is all wrong. Let's start again. So that bit's right, and then that's right. I somehow mirrored every other thing. That's fine. Yeah, trouble is, right, quite often when there's a kids film on, like they won't do like a 9 o'clock showing. You might get an 8 o'clock, but you'll normally get like a 7 or a 7:30, which is fine. I can deal with that. If I go to that on like the right time, you know, I miss the crowds, what have you. Teen Titans Go, I think the latest showing they were doing is like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I'm thinking, yeah, this isn't the sort of film I can hold my head up high in. I'm a man with little shame in life at this point, but even I will draw the line at that, which is annoying. Might change in the future, who knows. I could go the other way with it and try and find a ridiculously early showing, but that's a risk in itself. So that'll be one I will probably miss, unfortunately. But Ant-Man and the Wasps just come out, so I've got that to see. Kind of looking forward to that. I feel I might have to watch Ant-Man again, as I saw it when it came out, and I think I might have seen it once since then, but I've not really like sat down and watched it like start to finish. I think I've sort of turned it on when it's been halfway through. And I remember it being a good film. I mean, it's a Marvel film, isn't it? They're very rarely bad. In fact, they aren't bad, ever. What's the worst Marvel film? That's the new question, isn't it? It's Incredible Hulk. That's what it is. If I was actually thinking about it, that's the first and one of the few remaining cliffhangers from any of the Marvel films. Like Red Skull was one because he kind of disappears in a portal, and it's like, when's he going to show up again? Suddenly he's back. But that's one they haven't yet touched upon again. Is in Incredible Hulk. There's a guy clearly getting turned into like the leader or something. He gets left under some dripping gamma liquid, and it's clearly warping him. And they cut away, and then they've never brought him up since. He's never returned. These little grey bastards, but they're not these grey bastards. They're a separate grey bastard apparently. Here they are. Very reminiscent of hula hoops. The hula hoops are one of those crisp items that I'd always see other people eating them, and I never liked them. And I always thought it was an odd choice. Up there, Monster Munch. I was never a fan of Monster Munch. It seemed like a kind of a knockoff crisp, like for people who just couldn't grow up. All right, that's good. Now put these on the end, facing inwards. Yep, got that good. So Incredible Hulk, yeah, it weren't great. And obviously Iron Man, great. Thor, I really like. Thor's my favourite character, like Marvel character-wise. Not from the films, but before that. And it's continued through to the films. I don't know why. It's dumb. Iron Man 2, a lot of people say it wasn't very good. I love Iron Man 2. That's got another sort of hanging plot thread in it as well. Justin Hammer. I think he gets put in prison at the end. He's not dead. He's still there. And he's kind of a viable threat, isn't he? He could easily return as some kind of villain. I'm surprised. It's not that he's just never reappeared. He's never even been mentioned. And technically speaking, he was the one that made a lot of the War Machine armor. Well, he didn't make the armor, but he kind of weaponized it. Stick that aside. Right, these two white elbows. Good. A couple of these little black biddies. Bam bam, yep. Iron Man 3 was good as well. A lot of people didn't like it. I liked it. I particularly like the reveal that the Trevor Slattery and the Mandarin thing. That was really funny. And then they even did like a double down in I think it was called Return of the King, like a one shot they did afterwards for DVD release, which is Trevor in prison. He kind of gets broken out of prison, and it's like the real Mandarin with like a word. So they kind of double down on it, where it's like, well, the one in Iron Man 3 wasn't the real one, but that's what he actually looks like. If they want to bring him back as a character, they've got an opening there, and they can even use Ben Kingsley again, who's great. Okay, so this bit here attaches inwardly like that. Okay, took a lot of understanding. And then this bit does the same. All right, this is taking less understanding now. I'm starting to read it a bit more. I've got it in my head what this means. It's a Unix system. I know this. Right. Okay, so I've made this. Now take this, attach this to this, and then I think also attach this onto here. Nope, because this is just a flat edge and can't possibly attach. But I suspect I'm about to make another one. In fact, I can see I'm about to make another one. That's fine. I'm going to find all the bits first. This one was hard to make without having the bits first. It was a huge error on my part when I did it the first time. So 4-1 I really liked. 4-2, actually, if there's any 4 film that's kind of a black sheep, that could probably be, For the Dark World could potentially be the worst film in all of them. It's kind of dull, isn't it? Not a lot happens. Villain is incredibly forgetful, both of them. Like there's Malekith, the elf, and also, was he called Curse? Or something like that. And he was like, oh yeah, he's going to be strong enough to fight Thor, and Malekith is smart. And then I think Thor defeated both of them like as soon as he found them. It was sort of too easy for him. There was a bit of cool stuff where I think they went to the other realms, and there was some cool Asgard stuff. And if memory serves, Loki does that cool thing where he turns into Captain America. I'd have to watch it again, to be honest. It's my fondness for Thor is what would sort of mar that dark spot. First 3 Captain Americas, all good, really. A lot of people say they didn't like First Avenger. I really like it. I like the setting. I like the fact that Tommy Lee Jones is in it as Tommy Lee Jones. Peggy Carter. Peggy Carter. That's where she got hers. She's a great character. Had her own TV series, which had a good first series and a terrible second series. Or rather, the first series was great, and there was a definite vibe that they didn't expect to do any more. And the second series is like, we've got nothing. We've got no ideas. Nothing that can like tie it into the rest of the series in any way. Fuck it, she goes to Hollywood. That'll do. Nice, getting that in. Avengers. Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with that. It's Avengers, can you? Then you add Guardians of the Galaxy. Brilliant film, both of them. The second one, I didn't think it was... Like, the first time I watched it, it was sort of good but not great in my mind. But then on subsequent rewatches, I've decided that actually, yeah, it's very good. It sets up a lot as well. It's got goddamn Sly Stallone in it. That's a weird thing. He exists in the Marvel Universe now. Presumably that's not a one and done character, but now that James Gunn's out, you never know, do you? Could go anywhere. Spider-Man Homecoming might be one of my favourite films in all of them. Well, obviously no. Thor Ragnarok is my favourite. That's the best one by far. But other than that, were that not an option? Ant-Man was good. Very standalone though, but sets up a really cool character to have in the rest of it. And I did have that cool bit with young Michael Douglas, is that him? Hank Pym. And setting up that he'd actually been active for some time and he's retired. And he knows about Stark making his dumb armour. He's like, yeah, that's all well and good, but mine's way better. I like that. It's nice. And final step, put that on there. Right, I'm done with this. Made one of these. Now I take it and I attach it to this like this. And then this like this. And suddenly this has a tiny modicum of stability. Not a huge amount, but a tiny amount. In fact, no, it's still not really got any. Alright, let's go now set that aside. I feel it really is the only answer you can give to the question of like the worst Marvel film. It's you expect people to say like For the Dark World, Iron Man 3, or maybe Ant-Man. Actually, no, I don't think anyone's saying that. Probably Iron Man 2, For Dark World, Iron Man 3. They're probably the ones a lot of people would think of. And then your retort is, well, actually, I think you'll find it's The Incredible Hulk. And they're like, what? There was an Incredible Hulk film? And you go, exactly. I'm building a lot of complicated things here, and I really don't know what any of them are for, or where they go, or what they're even supposed to be. I hope it will become clear once time moves on. It probably will. The instructions are pretty good like that. They very rarely just say, and the final step, Millennium Falcon. I'll be sad when this is over. I won't know what to do with myself. I'll probably just buy more Lego actually. Or I could spend another several months just taking it all apart and then starting over, but with a huge pile of parts instead of large piles of parts. I did like the idea that in the first run of Marvel films, they were always building in like backup Avengers essentially. So like there was thinking like, if we can't get Ed Norton or we can't get the Hulk back to make our Hulk film, we can bring in Emil Blonsky and Abomination as like secondary. In Iron Man, you always had like, well, if Robert Downey Jr. blows up again or anything like that, it's like, we've got Rhodey, we've got our safety, and we've already replaced him once, so even the actor can be replaced at the moment's notice. He's our Iron Man. We'll just have War Machine. And then you start seeing the patterns elsewhere. It's like, well, anyone could be Black Widow and Hawkeye. No one gives a shit. And you got Falcon as being like instead of Captain America. So that's not going to happen. That's nonsense. There's a bigger thing in the comics that Captain America is not like a person. It's more of a mantle to take on. Whereas in the films, it's very much Steve Rogers. There isn't another one. That's another thing in the comics. There was Captain America for World War II. He gets lost, and then whenever America enters a new war, they'll essentially brand the new Captain America. I remember there was one for Vietnam. There was a black Captain America who the experiments went wrong on, and he ended up crippled. I think he was the father of the Patriot, or the grandfather. Something like that. That's from the short-lived Young Avengers series. I say short-lived, it was annoyingly short-lived because it was a great comic. That is right. It's very odd what I'm building now. Everything's like purposefully off-center with it. And the bit I need doesn't seem to exist. It's in this very weird burnt orange colour. Oh, that flew by today. I don't know if they were setting up to build like an alternate Avengers, or just a sort of like a. Well, no, it couldn't have been a same team but evil for them to fight, because only Abomination was really evil in that lineup. I suppose they could have taken just all the first villains, couldn't they? There's a version of events where they couldn't get Hemsworth back for 4, so they choose the Warriors 3. They Voltron them together. I need to finish building this thing I'm putting together, because I don't even know if I've done it properly, and if I just leave it till next time, it'll confuse me. Or will it? No, probably, yeah. I'll finish this bit that's in my hand. That's what I'll do. That's sensible. I've said it now and can't see any of the bits for it at all. There we are. Oh, it's one of these things I found earlier and I remembered where it was. You're a genius. It's good. Now just a little bit of decoration on top. What villains from Marvel films are still alive? Red Skull survived. The Winter Soldier kind of survived. Did Arnim Zola? Was he fully dead? He was in Winter Soldier as like a computer, and they destroyed that computer. But I'm thinking he could easily return. Couldn't he? He could be uploaded somewhere. That could be a thing. Ironmonger is probably dead, and there wouldn't be much point bringing him back because he wasn't like a super genius. He was just quite rich, and he had someone else build his suit for him. So there wouldn't be much point bringing him back. Hammer. He's still around. He could come back. Justin Hammer, played by Short Dancing Man. I forget his name. Sam Rockwell. There it is. AKA Short Dancing Man. I don't even know if he's that short, to be honest. I just assume he is. Red Skull they brought back already. Wasn't really much. Well, no, the guy in Civil War, whose name escapes me, he could return. Ultron. I can't see that they'll bring Ultron back. Actually, thinking about it, Age of Ultron is probably the worst of the Marvel films. Like, it's sort of the most lackluster, isn't it? I put the wrong bit in here. Need the separator. Oh god, that's satisfying to use. That's the right bit. It had 2 dots. It needed 1. That's the difference. That could have been a huge error down the line. Could have cost me my life, or about 4 minutes of my life. In there, that in there. That's good. Right, here we go. Now I'm gonna add this to this, like, without dropping it. Behold. Nonsense. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. for more useless, inane chatter. I'll see you then.